And we are live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there. And welcome to another rendition of NXT Losos, the most sexiest NXT review out here on the internet. Oh, you know what? We will run with it and I will take it. I am one of your hosts, Mikey, and of course, joining me this week for NXT is the full panel. First and foremost, you know him, you love him. He is being sponsored unofficially by Squeeze's Fish, is
Oh, I
Mr.
like that.
Macho
Yes.
Rodriguez, unofficially sponsored.
Sponsors now. Simply Modern. I love Simple Modern. I love your cups. I love it.
Sponsor us, please. But Macho, how
Yeah.
you doing this evening?
I'm great. I'm excited. What a great show to go over. I mean, talking top to bottom, the storytelling all around. We're going to get into it, obviously, but I'm just happy to see you guys. Haven't seen you in a couple weeks. I miss both of you.
It has been touch and go for the last couple of weeks, but the whole panel is here, and I'm super grateful and happy that both of y'all are here. But rounding out our trifecta of sexiness is Mr. Papa also himself, Will. Hi, Will.
Hello.
I'm jealous you're on spring break. I'm so mad.
Yep, on spring break.
I have to hold out till April 18th, so I still got a long way.
April
Easter
8th.
weekend, huh?
That is so not spring break. March is spring, not April.
Well-
April's late spring going into summer.
That is very true. The college towns do it earlier, but apparently the middle schools and the high schools haven't gotten that memo yet because all our spring breaks in my area aren't until leading into Easter. So, yeah, just said thoughts and prayers. If you are religious, pray because I don't know how I'm going to make it, but I will. But now that we're done with introductions, before we jump into Roadblock this evening, of course, if you like what you see here on the internet and you want to know and see a little bit more, you can basically follow us all over the social medias where I think we do a good job, but we also are just as equally hilarious on our social media feeds. You can catch our report cards for all the shows. You can and not just the weekly shows, but for the pay-per-views as well. Also, you can totally see out of context clips on our social medias that will totally not come bite us in the badonkadunk later down the line. So, you know what? It's on the internet. It is forever, and that is okay. And of course, we have merchandise. Link in the description below. Get yourself a t-shirt, some stickers. We have mugs. And of course, you know, even though it is about to be 100 and some odd degrees in the spring around here, sweater weather is always year round. Now that I got that out of the way, let's just jump into it because NXT wasted no time last night because they were just straight. All right, we got these matches. Here they are. We got some backstage stuff that we'll talk a little bit about. But we kick things off with NXT Roadblock, which, might I add, came to us live from the theater in Madison Square Garden, which is very nice, which is their smaller venue over there. Really nice looking. I love the lights of how it was, you know, strung up. But we kick things off with the TNA, which is really weird to say on an NXT review, is a TNA Tag Team Championship match, which saw our TNA champions of Matt and Jeff Hardy, so Matthew and Jefford Hardy, defending their titles against the best, question mark, on the same page, question mark, NXT Tag Team Champions of Fraxia. So, look, as a TNA stan, as a TNA unapologetic apologist, I will never not mark out for the Hardy Boys. That is just my thing, and I have grown to love them in their now coming, because eventually they will be no longer wrestling. They will eventually retire, so I am enjoying them while I have them. This was a fun match. I love it. And you know what? Fraxia, I love y'all. You did a great job too. I just had fun. That was the underlying theme for me with the night and also with this particular match. It was just a lot of fun for me to see the NXT crowd continue to embrace the Hardys, which has been a nice thing the last 2 weeks that they've been on the show, which has been really nice. But Macho, I'm going to throw it to you first. TNA Tag Team Championship match. What did you think about the match itself? And any additional thoughts?
This match. I thought it was really fast paced. The fact that the Hardy Boys can still work at this pace at their age, with all of their experience, I was just shocked. I didn't expect it to be this good. I know that Jeff has definitely looked like old school Jeff just based on his sobriety and everything that he's been able to overcome. You can tell there was lots of moments in the match where I could tell like Matt had definitely slowed down a little bit, but they were still able to give us a consistently like good performance yesterday. There was no point in the match where I felt like there was a mistake coming. There was no point in the match where I felt like, I'm nervous about them doing this. I I thought it was beautiful. Fraxium versus the Hardys is definitely something that I thought as soon as the match was over, I was like, oh, I need more. So I'm so happy that like Matt and Jeff want to challenge them for the NXT championships at Stand and Deliver, because I was like, okay, then we get another match and then they can put over Fraxium, and I love that. I thought it was beautiful.
Something that I love to see with this NXT and TNA relationship. So now I'm going to come to you, Will, as the other half of the TNA review squad in this chat right now, which is me and you. We are very familiar with the Hardys, and of course, you know, we love Fraxium. So what did you think about the match, and any thoughts that you had?
I thought this match was awesome. I thought it was a way to start out. It was fast paced and high energy. You know, the energy was so exciting. You know, and I love watching the Hardys. Ever since, and I know I've said it before, but ever since I saw them live, man, I have such a huge respect for them, far more than I had before. And this was just fun. And to wrestle Frax and maintain the entire match was fantastic. It was brilliant to watch. So I loved it. I thought it was great. There wasn't anything about it I didn't like.
I know. I'm so jealous that you got to see them live at Genesis back in January. But here's hoping I get to see them at Rebellion since I'm going. So I'm excited. Also, TNA, I love you, but I need wrestling. We'll talk about this at the end. I need wrestling companies to stop throwing every PLE event and pay-per-view event they can over Memorial Day weekend. There's already 3 happening with major companies. We'll talk about that at the end. But my closing thoughts, I think this was a very smart way to open up the show. I love this. The Hardys retain their TNA Tag Team Championships, and I am excited for this rematch at Stand and Deliver in April. Cannot wait. So we cut backstage because we have somebody who is watching Stephanie and Julia's match, which is main eventing tonight. And, you know, Miss Jada Parker gets a pep talk from one of my personal favorite women's wrestlers. And Will and I got to kind of see the tail end of her run with TNA when she was fighting Deonna Purrazzo and Jordan Grace, which was really nice. But Mickie James gives Miss Jada Parker a pep talk and tells her, you know what? You have to seize the moment. You just, get there. You take the spotlight if you need to. And I'm just like, yes, Mickie, tell her that. Listen, I feel like Mickie James is one of the few women's wrestlers I feel that doesn't get the flowers that she deserves, both in ring and what she brings to women's wrestling in general. But I love having her have this interaction because I feel that having Mickie James, if she wants to work with NXT women, like that is perfect pairing. And I love that Jada is getting this pep talk because I'm expecting and I'm hoping that we get to see Jada at Stand and Deliver. I think she has earned that at least some sort of match at Stand and Deliver. But I love this backstage segment. Mickey's fantastic. I love Jada. I'm hoping this transfers into something for Jada to do at Stand and Deliver. So
yeah, I absolutely agree. I was definitely upset with what they did to Mickie, and I know it was tailored towards having Taker on, the new show. Like clearly they want Taker a part of that show, but if if this is gonna be her transition to come over to NXT, maybe she'll be the new GM now that like Ava's moving on to Evolve, I guess, right?
Yeah, which by the way, I finally watched the first episode. I loved it. I was like, all right, well, now I gotta fit it more in my schedule. But I like that Evolve is now finally getting to all the ID wrestlers that we've gotten over the past couple of months. And of course, I'm familiar with a few of them because lots of them have popped up in GCW over the last year or so that we've reviewed it here. But yeah, I want to see Mickie more. I would love to see Mickie James become GM of NXT. I think she would kick all the butt. Like, honestly, though. This was a great segment. I love this. Feel good. Love to see it. Something we also love to see. My God. Jordan Grace versus Roxanne Perez. These girls brought it. I love this match so much. So I will say, I was a bit salty the last time we had these two encounter at Battleground last year, especially because me and Will revealed Battleground. We did not like the venue was at the, complex for the UFC complex in Las Vegas. So I thought that match was great. But also there was shenanigans because that's also where we got, Rosemary and, Ash by Elegance with Jordan feuding with both of them in TNA over the couple months after that match. So for me, I was happy to see this rematch happen and in an actually sized NXT ring and not in the small venue. And my gosh, these girls beat the bricks off each other. Roxanne is, again, the moniker that she has gotten in NXT as the prodigy continues to shine through here. Like, she is so ready for main roster, and I cannot wait to see her start reporting. Who knows? It might be soon. It might be after Stand and Deliver. I still think Roxanne has one more match left in her at Stand and Deliver, and then she can be over on main roster full time. And honestly, what a great way. It's like, all right, Roxanne is on her way out. Jordynne Grace is about to have this division be built around her and a couple of other women in the next year or two, which makes me excited. I'm just happy that we didn't have to wait long to see Jordynne after departing TNA and her contract being up to now seeing her back on my screen. And Mama is jacked. But also, it doesn't hurt that her husband / partner is also Jonathan Gresham, who is also very jacked himself. I'm gonna twist things up a little bit. I'm gonna come to you first, Will. We love Roxanne. We are very familiar with Jordynne Grace. What did you think of the match between the two?
Again, I loved it. And I love Jordynne Grace's new energy here. You know, it's like she's the same, but not. Like, her whole persona has changed, which I love. Not persona, that's the wrong word. But her whole sort of look has changed. And I really love that about her. And I love that she's sort of like, we know who she is. She walks in a room. If you didn't even have to say her name, I'd be like, hello, Jordynne. But she has completely transformed herself for NXT, and I love that. Loved her at TNA, and now I'm gonna love her here at NXT, and she's gonna give these women a run for their money. Because man, this woman, it's like every time I remember in TNA, whenever she was fighting someone, she was wrestling someone, I was like, it's too bad for you, because you're about to get annihilated.
They don't call her the Juggernaut for nothing.
Exactly. But I think what's so great about her being here is I think she's a great fit for NXT, because even though we have some amazing women at NXT, I think her influence and her style will help beef up the women in, not the women, but the women's category in NXT. I think she was a brilliant addition. At least I mean, I truly believe. And of course, Roxanne, I freaking love her. And I think she has truly starting to fully grow into who she is. And I saw a little bit in this match when they were kind of showing her there, and she was there in her black, and I was just like, ooh, I was like, okay, this is Roxanne like I've never seen her before. There was a whole lot more. And so I thought that her pairing with Jordynne Grace was fantastic. That was a great choice. So yay to whoever came up with that idea, because I think they both will learn something from one another. And so this match, I did not have a bad moment in this match. I thought it was great. I mean, the outcome was what I thought it was going to be, but that didn't ruin it for me. So bang on. Way to go.
Thank you for your thoughts, Will. Macho, now same question posed to you. What did you think of the Prodigy versus the Juggernaut?
This match was amazing. I truly enjoyed it. I even love like how if you even thought for a second there was a mistake in the match, that you were just blatantly wrong, because I know there's a spot in which Jordynne goes she goes up to the corner and it looks like it was a botch, but it wasn't. She was selling the knee, and it was awesome. It was just like, yes, this is exactly what we talk about in terms of selling. Like, you have that knee, and I love the fact that right after that, once like the character wise, once Roxanne saw that, she would not let up. She was like, this knee is mine. I'm doing everything. I'm putting it in submissions. I'm going to beat it down. I'm going to, like, when she jumped on it to the outside, I thought this was such a great match. I don't know if you guys notice this. I love how it almost seems like in NXT specifically, whenever somebody comes in or whenever somebody puts over like a younger talent, like when Jordynne came in and she put over Roxanne, it's almost like, oh, here, I'm going to pay you back. You know what I mean? So like then they have their one-on-one match, no title involved, and then she goes and just puts her over clean the way she did. I mean, it was a really, really solid matchup, and I have no complaints. I agree with you, Will. I love the character. I loved everything. Like, I don't know if you're talking about the same exact spot, but when she's on the apron, when Jordynne is selling the knee, that was the moment I was like, oh my God, like, this is the first time I've seen this version of her character come out. Like, you see it like in subtle ways, but this was the first time where the camera like zoomed into her, like right here, the close up, and just the way she sold it, the way she like, it was just like, wow, like here we go. If we're going to the main roster with this, if this is what she's gonna do up there, I mean, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. I mean, the women's division is in such great hands all around in WWE. All around. It is just, oh, it's exciting.
It definitely is. Jordan and Roxanne brought it, and I'm gonna save it when we get to the very end, but like I was like, all right, we're 2 for 2. I'm having such a great time, because normally there's always like one match or so. I was like, I'm not feeling it for this one. But so far at this point of the evening, I was like, all right, we're 2-0 for this. I've enjoyed the 2 matches we've gotten so far. Can't wait to see how the others deliver. So we didn't have to wait long for our next one, because we would end up getting our NXT Championship match in a little bit. But first, look, however you feel about, the person or the wrestling character of The Undertaker, Obafemi getting that rub from the other Undertaker speaks volumes in terms of, the future of this business, because that means that The Undertaker, who kept his character real as real can be for almost his whole entire career, giving Obafemi, who is coming up in the ranks, that rub of just, you are the future, you are going to do amazing things. I'm just like, I have no notes. To me, this is what I feel like I need to see more often, is these legends going into NXT to talk to the NXT kids and, be like, you're going to be a star and things like that. But damn, to have the backing of the dead man is crazy, especially with Obafemi being so young in his NXT championship run for this go around. Macho, I know you were texting me a little bit last night about this, so I want to start with you. What did you think of this moment?
To be quite honest with you, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I feel like this is WWE's subtle way of telling us this is who's next. If you go back to last year, Taker's moment with Braun Breaker, and now Braun's come on so strong, and now we have this, and he didn't just do this in like a subtle way. This wasn't like his talking with like John Cena early. This wasn't him like talking with Braun Breaker. He legitimately went up to Oba and told him, protect your yard.
This is like legit words of encouragement. There was nothing veiled, no hidden meaning. It was just like, nah, you're the next big thing, kid. I was like, well, hot damn. Will, same question to you. Undertaker and Obafemi's brief interaction. What'd you think?
It was cool. I don't have anything any more to say than what you guys have already said. It's basically the same. I thought it was a strong indicator of where Obafemi is headed. But other than that, I thought it was really cool.
So, well, let's just jump into it, because this pairs with what we're going to be talking about next. But my God, like, holy crap. So, okay, on paper, I knew this was just going to be big men slapping big man meat. Like, honestly, Obafemi's big, Moose is big. I was interested to see how styles would clash. Good God, I was not expecting Moose to be throwing Oba the way he did. And Oba, I expected Oba to fire back a little bit, but jeez Louise. I was like, oh my goodness. Did I figure Moose was going to win? No, because there's no way in all hell that a TNA superstar would hold the NXT championship. But dang, Moose did put up a fight. My only critique is I was like, Moose, I need to see this intensity this weekend for Sacrifice against Jeff Hardy in that ladder match. Like, jeez Louise. I'm like, and Will, you can attest to this because me and you covered TNA. The last couple of months for Moose, I feel like we've been missing his intensity when it comes to in the ring stuff, because he's mostly been in faction stuff or in multi-person tags. This is the first time in a while where Moose actually had to give everything he had, so to speak, and just add to that intensity. Now, I do think that Moose does have to work on some stuff a little bit, but I thought this was a really great matchup, and honestly, this is what everyone's been calling for, so with the potential of a TNA NXT crossover. So actually, I'm going to go with you, Will, first. We are familiar with the Moose Nation, Obafemi, of course. What did you think of this NXT Championship match?
It was amazing. But to talk on your conversation, or not conversation, but your point that you were talking about with Moose. I think that's why he needs to work on stuff, is because they've had him so deep into faction BS that he hasn't been fighting much. And so he's kind of out of practice when it comes to like on-screen stuff, like the recorded stuff or the live stuff. The training and stuff is different, but it's a completely different. We all know that in rehearsals it's different than the performance. And I agree with you. I think he does have some work to do, but again, I think that's because they need to get him back in the ring more. I've noticed that now that he's got that title, he hasn't actually been in the ring a whole lot. And I'm just like, why would you do that? I mean, he's really good. I mean, and he's massive. And I mean, he is the Obafemi of TNA. I mean, they are like these gigantic men with a lot of power behind them. But I think because they put Moose in that faction, I think he's sort of gotten a little, talent wise, he's gotten a little flabby. And I think he needs to cut that and get back in the ring. And because this was amazing. This was awesome. This was like two mountains going at each other. I mean, you could feel the earth move when they were fighting. I mean, it was awesome. And of course, Obafemi is already like amazing. And when this match was announced, I was just like, oh my God. I mean, this is like world-ending stuff. Two nuclear bombs hitting each other in this ring. I mean, it was incredibly like brutal and amazing. I mean, there was that moment like on the floor when Oba was going for Moose, but Moose turned around, grabbed him, and threw him into the steps. I mean, it was loud, and it was like, this match was painful to me anyway. I mean, it was like, ow, I wouldn't have gotten back up from that. This was awesome. I thought both these men performed very well. And I think that, again, I think Moose is a great solo fighter, and I think he needs to get back to that. So that's my 2 cents.
Absolutely. Macho, your thoughts on our NXT Championship match?
This was a solid match. I've seen a lot of Moose, and I feel like he's taken that literal. There's times where like I see him do the run up on the rope, like on the corner, and he does it in slow-mo, and I'm just like, bro, I know you can move. Like, just do it. That's what makes you special. For me, and it was just designed to be like these two powerhouses that they both looked amazing. Even though Oba got the win, both of these men just looked like at any given moment, any given Sunday, like they say in football, either one of them could take the W. Like, I didn't come out of this match thinking, as much as high as I am on Oba, I didn't come out of this match thinking, oh, well, Oba beat him 9 times out of 10. No, I came out thinking like, oh, if they wrestle again, like, Moose is going to beat him. And then he's probably going to beat Moose. Like, this is going to be like the Booker T best of 7 series in WCW for the TV title. Like, these two are going to be trading wins for a while. I think the objective is to get them together. And I love this partnership, man. I really do, because this was like, as Will said, this is what everybody wanted, and we got it, and it did not disappoint.
Excellent. Well, of course, I'm so ready for the rematch whenever they decide to book it. But Moose, I need this intensity this weekend at Sacrifice when you take on Jeff Hardy in the ladder match for that X Division Championship. So, oh man, this was a lot of fun. So we move on from this because we go backstage. Ricky Saints is like trying to suss out the vibe, and people keep telling him he doesn't belong here. Yes, the revolution will be televised. Sorry, wrong thing. But well, first we get, Fatal Influence, especially Fallon, be like, when am I getting my rematch for the women's NXT North American Championship? And Fallon, I'm like, you know what? I'm also asking that question. Not as hard as you are, but it will probably come down the line. And then Ricky just comes in and it's just like, whoa, why is everybody mad around here? Like, what is happening? And then Fatal Influence get mad at Ricky, telling him that he doesn't belong here, which then prompts Ricky to talk to Ava, be like, why does everyone keep telling me that? Anyways, so I want to prove to people that I do belong here, and I want to shut up the naysayers. So basically, Ricky asks Ava to fight Ridge Holland next week, which later in the night gets confirmed. We will be getting Ricky versus Ridge next week on NXT. But The thing that is important to come out of this too is this little moment right here. So Ethan Page comes up getting ready for his street fight against Javon, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But Ricky and Ethan get in each other's faces, and Ethan says is that we don't like outsiders here, which is kind of funny talking about all ego Ethan Page. But this has got to be the next feud for Ethan and Ricky's first full-length feud. Whenever we pull the trigger for this, I'm like, give me what I want, NXT. So I love this interaction. I'm excited to see Ricky kind of start being more of a presence now that we signed him on NXT. He gets his match against Ridge next week, which now leads us into this balls to the wall street fight. Yes, I will say that. Can I just say, I think within the last couple of months, Ethan and Javon have probably had my favorite on-screen feud, and that their chemistry is so damn good with each other. Of course, Ethan being, the consummate professional that he is, been wrestling for a long time. But there's something about Javon and how quickly he has taken to the quote-unquote WWE style of wrestling while also maintaining what made him such a big, which made me such a big fan of him in the independent days as well, and his independent matches and everything. And the fact that he's still so young. Oh my God, this kid is going to be a megastar. But we get the street fight between these two. It's what we expect. There is violence. There is tables. The Javon cutter onto the chair for the finish. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Javon does pick up the victory, which I was just like, yes, he got his lick back from Vengeance Day, which was also really good. I freaking love this. Macho, we come to you first. New York street fight between All Ego and Mr. Bouncy himself, Javon. What did you think?
Listen, I don't know if the entire building was Lucky Juice, because the performances for all of these first-time Madison Square Garden athletes, I just cannot. I mean, you're gonna hear it like the rest of the podcast here. I have nothing negative to say. This match was spectacular. Ethan Page, everything he did to put this man Javon over yesterday to make him look formidable, everything he gave him, Javon just holding his own in there with a veteran. He at no point looked like this was too big for him. As a matter of fact, it was like living dangerously when Rob Van Dam threw the chair at Jerry Lynn, went to hit the Van Terminator, Jerry ducked, and then Rob hit him with a leg drop on top of the chair. That was one of the most innovative spots I've ever seen in professional wrestling. That's what this is. I swear to you, that will be replayed for years. And they will definitely redo that on the main roster. 100%.
I loved it. And Will, same question to you. What did you think of the street fight?
Oh, I loved it because the biggest thing I loved about it is to watch Ethan Page get his ass kicked. So I was good with that. This is probably my favorite match of the night, mainly because Ethan Page got his ass kicked, but because I think these two men showed up, and brought the house down. This match was, for me, was fire. So this was I would probably say this was my match of the night. I just loved it. I agree with you. I think that this rivalry has band one of the better rivalries that we've seen on NXT since I've been doing NXT. I mean, other than I thought, Dijak and Eddie Thorpe, but because that was just amazingly problematic and wonderful. But this one, I mean, this was just from day one has just been a great rivalry. It was done the right way. I think this is the way a rivalry should be done. As an example, put this in the book, folks, of when you look up rivalry, you see this picture right here.
It's been a really fun ride for this feud between Javon and Ethan. And I think I'm excited to see where we go next with both of them, but we do have to talk about what happened after the match. So Javon gets attacked by our still unnamed group with Dion Lennox and a couple other NXT guys. So here's the thing. We have seen them attack Frax Obafemi. We have seen them attack Robert Stone, and now they're attacking Javon. So I'm intrigued to see what happens. But I feel like what we need now is I need to get the motivation, the why behind what they're doing. I don't know if it's going to be answered immediately or if we're going to slow burn this. But I feel like the point has been made. Now I need to see some motivation. I also holding to the theory that somebody is leading this group from the shadows, and it is someone who is already established on NXT. So we shall see what happens with all of this, but I need answers. Like, I need to know motivations as to why we are doing these things, because there were other situations this past year where we had same things happen, and I'm like, you took too long to explain the why. I don't care anymore. So hopefully NXT, Shawn Michaels does the thing.
Yeah, I'm already there. I mean, literally, I was like, oh, this again. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like this. I feel like that's what it is. It's supposed to be like the Shield 2.0. But here's the thing. Every time one of these groups come out, it doesn't take this long. Like you mentioned about motivation, right? Like, let's go back, like when the Nexus debuted and they like attacked Bryan and Cena, right? And they came out and they attacked a like Sheamus and things like that. Like after, it was like 2 weeks tops before Wade Barrett talked to us, right? And I feel like the same thing with the Wyatt Six. Like, we heard that the motivation was broken families. Like, you turned your back on your family and our family is going to fix that. The same thing with Karrion Kross or any other group. This is like a month and a half of this stuff, and we haven't heard a single peep. They've like shot themselves in a foot here because I'm not interested. And it's weird because normally I'd be like, oh, these guys look dope. I want to know who they are. I don't care. I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah, so NXT, figure it out. So we move on from this, though. Speaking of one group, we have another one to talk about. So, see, this is where I'm mad. Because on the one hand, I think of all the words you can use to describe a group, the choline is actually a fantastic word to use to describe a group. Because its definition is cool, and I loved it. This is the wrong word for this group. I'm sorry. Like, I love me some Shawn Spears. You know, he is married to one half of my favorite women's tag team within the last couple of years of the Iconics / the Inspiration when they went to TNA. But again, this is a faction that I do not care about. I'm sorry. And it sucks that the NXT champion, North American Championship is on this group technically. Which also, by the way, we're getting a 3-on-3 with, Izzy, Brooks, and Creator Wrestler number 5 versus the D'Angelo family minus the Tony D'Angelo. So we get Miss Rizzo, Stax, and Mr. Crucifino fighting the choline. So, which I was like, okay, at least there's some story there, but this is another group I do not care about, unfortunately. I don't know. Am I crazy, you guys? Because, like, I'm usually the person that want to give things a chance, but I don't care. I really don't.
No, I don't care either.
So I'm simple. Right? I've been a butcher for 23 going on 24 years, and I just Googled what the culling means, right? And here's what my question is to you guys. So your question is valid. I don't know how to answer it, but what I'll ask you is, who are they removing? Who's undesirable? That's what the definition says. It's the process of removing, eliminating undesirable individuals or items from a group. So is it the family? Is that what we're trying to remove from NXT? Because if that's so, then it's like, okay, I like the idea of it. Because Tony's he's a big deal in NXT. And if you're telling me you're trying to remove a fan favorite, someone who's definitely come on strong, then I feel like we got a good feud here. But I don't get that from this group. I just see Shawn Spears, who wants to take over NXT, and then the other like people in the group that are just like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big fan of anybody but Spears in this situation.
Yeah, this is a tough one. That's why I said the choline is a really cool name for a group, but also the context and the definition of the choline does not speak to me about this group of individuals. So we get them versus the D'Angelo family next week, which sure, cool. That's fine, I guess.
Okay. I wasn't going to say anything, but I think the culling has some undertoning Nazi vibes, because the culling it's about getting rid of the lesser than, the undesirables.
Oh my God.
That's a very Aryan way of thinking. When I saw,
it's like, did NXT just make Nazis? Oh my God.
We cannot do this in 2025. Anyways, still don't like the group. But now that we have this name, we need a name change. But we move on. Eddie Thorpe is NXT's version of Dominic Mysterio in terms of how much heat he gets, but not as cool. So Eddie Thorpe gets on this microphone talking copious amounts of trash about Trick. Then Trick comes into the ring to whoop that Trick, literally. And we are reminded that we are getting an NXT Underground match between these two next week. Am I excited? Yes. Am I worried about Trick in an Underground match? Absolutely. Because we've seen Eddie in an underground match before, and he did fairly well against Dijak. Unfortunately, that's the match he also got injured and put him on the shelf for a couple months, but I still thought it was going to be running around like a chicken with his head cut off. I'm like, Trick Williams, from the stuff I know about you, combat sports is not something that is in your background. It is not. Lola Vice and Jada Parker made a lot of sense to me. Lola has that background and Jada is, well, Jada. That made sense to me. I'm worried for Trick. That is the best way I could describe this. I'm still going to watch the match, but I am worried that Trick is going to be lost. But also, I'm like, what's the point of this? Is there like a number one contendership? I mean, of course, they're trying to get lickbacks against each other the last couple months, but I'm just going to put it this way. I'm ready for these two to move on after the Underground match next week. We need something more for Eddie to do, and I don't know what Trick's path is to stand and deliver if he is on that trajectory right now. But I feel like I could say that about the men's division in general, because I have no idea what we're doing with the men's, but I could tell you all the 50 different stories that we are doing with the women, because they are great. But anyways, are we excited about this Underground match? Because I'm on the fence.
I am excited and nervous at the same time, because I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but I think WWE does things specifically to see how audiences react. Like if you go back to the match that never happened when Chris Jericho beat Triple H for the WWF Championship on Raw and then had to relinquish the title. If you go back and you YouTube that, the whole purpose of that was to see how the crowd reacted to Jericho as the WWF champ. Now, I think that was because they didn't view him as that. And once they saw it, they saw the reaction. They were like, oh, wow. And then the traffic online and everything in the dirt sheets made it a big deal. I feel like next week is a test for Trick. Let's take him out of his comfort zone. Let's put him in a situation that's tailor-made for him to fail. And let's see if he rises to the occasion, meets Eddie, who's done this before, who can do this again, or if he just falls on his face. And then we go from there. I really think that they have high hopes for Trick, and I really hope that he steps up to the plate, because I agree with you. This is not in his wheelhouse. He's not what Booker T was. I know that's the best comparison that we have. He's not what Booker was. Booker could do it all. Booker was spectacular. He's a personal favorite of mine. Tell me you didn't just say that. I love him. I just don't know if Trick has that in him. And I worry that next week could go wrong for him, which is why I'm very nervous. Very nervous. I have faith in him. I'm just nervous.
Yeah. Will, how do we feel about Eddie and Trick's match, the Underground match for next week?
Fun to watch. I think it's going to also be like a train wreck, but maybe that's why it'll be fun to watch. But from the very first day, I've not been behind this rivalry. I really don't. I mean, and I know we've talked about it before that they don't know what to do with Trick, which I think they've got, great thing about Trick is I think right now they're wasting his talent. I mean, they are. And I'm not saying that's no diss against Eddie Thorpe by any means, because I love Eddie Thorpe. But this doesn't make sense for him. I mean, they've made him into this sort of like pissy baby character. And I'm just like, you're better than that. You don't have to. You could just look at him and go, dude, I ain't got time for you, deuces. And I got more important things to do. But they put him in this, and I agree with you much. I worry for Trick, because I don't think it benefits him in any way. I think if it does anything, it's going to hurt him. That's it. It will help Eddie. Absolutely it will. Because Eddie thrives in this environment, and I'm just like, I don't know what they were doing with him. That was the worst. I mean, I was just like, he was like he couldn't speak. He had no presence. It was like, what is happening to you, man? What are they doing to you over there?
No,
blink twice if you need help.
I'm glad you brought that up, because let's recap a little bit. So he wins the title, which we were super excited for. I'm going to summarize his championship reign leading into Heat Wave last year. Because remember, for some reason, NXT wanted to play up his real life relationship with Lash Legend on screen when he was feuding with Metaphor. And then, of course, Noam Dar got hurt, so we had to change plans real quick. So that was done. Then Trick gets into, a feud with All Ego Ethan Page, which led into Battleground. Battleground was still not great last year, and that match ended way quicker than it should have, honestly. And then, we find ourselves into the Fatal 4-Way at Heat Wave, which, had Javon, Trick, Ethan, great, and for some reason, Sean Spears. Like, he just found himself in there. So I was like, okay. Now, Sean was there to keep... I was interested when Trick lost the way he did at Heat Wave because, Sean kept him out of it. But since then, I feel like we have lost the plot with Trick. Like, we don't know what's happening. And now he got the championship back and he lost it to Oba. I was just like, this is a mess. So, which sucks because again, we were all excited when Trick won, but now I don't know what we're doing anymore. So,
this is Triple H's fault.
Say what now?
This is Triple H's fault. This is the main roster's fault because didn't Trick beat Ilya Dragunov for that championship?
He did, which was the crazy part.
That's my point. I think they wanted Ilya on the main roster because he's a generational talent and they know he can go up there and he can be like very similar to the man that won the 2004 Royal Rumble, which I'm not going to say his name on our show here. But I think that's what they saw in him. And I think they were like, let's get him up there. Let's get him in these feuds so we can have him versus Gunther, him versus Jay, him versus Braun. We can have all these, like, he's awesome. He has that presence, his entrance, all of it. And I think they rushed Trick. What they should have done was just had Carmelo do what Braun Breaker did, which is just go win the title back, right? And then you be the guy that puts over Trick, help him get to that point, give him a reason, almost like, now that you're going for the title, like you shouldn't be champion type of thing. I think Melo would have helped him a hell of a lot more. I think it was dumb for them to do the whole Lash Legend thing because she doesn't need that shit. She's she's such a big star on her own. And my biggest issue, Will, like you mentioned about this feud, you don't get it. Here's my biggest issue. What has Eddie Thorpe done to be a heel? How is he a heel? What did you hear that crowd? What are they booing? What the hell did this man do? All he's done is put out a consistent performance after consistent performance. Everybody he works, everybody comes out of the match being like, damn, I didn't know Eddie Thorpe was like that. Right? That's always everybody's reaction. And then all of a sudden, MSG is just like, nah, man, you're Native American. We don't like you. Like, what this ain't Canada. What's wrong with you? Like, it's so weird for them to treat him that way. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, Trick is like, my God, they started chanting "whoop that Trick" at him. Like, I could barely hear these two talking.
Yeah, and I honestly, I believe it's because Trick Williams is like the golden boy. I really believe that. I think he's completely underused. I think he's been used completely wrong. But he is the one person they have on this roster that people, no matter who you are for, when he walks into the room, you start chanting his whole thing. And I think that's Eddie's getting caught up in that. And that's why they boo him, because he's going against the golden boy who everybody loves, whether he's a champion or not. They don't care. Everybody loves Trick Williams. I love Trick Williams. Yeah. Again, if I was in the room, I would be chanting his name and whoop that Trick, and I would be doing it. So Eddie didn't have a chance the minute this started. Because it's like the people are going into and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make Eddie this bad guy just by association, which personally I think is lazy writing. If you're going to make him a heel, give him something to do and make him a heel. Because right now he's coming off again as a whiny baby, and both of them are looking like that. And that's what's so infuriating about it is just like, I know what both of these men can do. I've seen them in like true rivalries, and it's literally like putting two babies having a tantrum in a room together. Yeah. And it's just like, who can be louder? And that's irritates me so much. That's why I'm just like, I'm going to watch the match, obviously, but it's like, I think it's stupid. I don't think it does nobody any good. I don't really think it does Eddie all that much good either. It's just going to make him look worse. If he beats Trick, the people are going to hate him even more, and I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. And
It's
I think
very
that's what
strange.
infuriates me about it.
Definitely is. So that is one of the matches we are getting next week. So we get the underground match. We talked about Ricky versus Ridge is the next week. We get the 6-person tag match between the D'Angelo family and the redacted for reasoning and underlying tones here of Sean Spears' group. But the other thing that we also, which has me excited, is we're getting a Women's United States Championship match. Chelsea Green defending her title against Sol Ruka next week, which I'm like, yo, this is a big match for Sol. Like, this is be like, all right, let's see what Sol can do, because I also think that we might see Sol on main roster by the end of the year. So I'm just saying. But
I have a bone to pick with this match.
ooh, tell me, give me deets. I'm messy.
I'm happy about the match. I think that wrestling fans are super irritating. I want to make this clear. We have had this conversation, specifically you and I, about the champions in professional wrestling, right? And how they've done nothing. All of those conversations you and I have had, Chelsea Green does not meet any of those negative conversations we've had about champions. She is quite literally the best champion in all of WWE. She literally does everything everybody wants. She works consistently. She's always working a match, whether it's a tag match or she's defending her championship. When she defends her championship, it's always a banger. I mean, she's just brilliant. Whenever she's on screen, she steals every single moment. And then I saw people being like, Sol Ruka has to win this match next week. She's got to be the person. I'm thinking, like, out of all the people that you to lose their title, you pick the best champion in the company? Come on. Like, if you said that shit over Gunther, I'd be like, okay, yeah. He said himself his run has been trash. If you said that over Lyra Valkyria, like, oh, hey, she's going to lose the championship next Monday, I'd be like, okay. She's been kind of mid as the first IC champ. Okay, that's fine. She can't cut a promo. That whatever you want to say, that's fine. But not Chelsea needs to hold on to that. She needs to be like Roman Reigns with the U.S. Championship. Don't take that title off her. She's made that, in my opinion, Chelsea Green is the United States champion. And I know this is probably hyperbolic, and I know I hate doing stuff like this because I hate this generation of wrestling fan. She's the best women's champion in the company.
No,
you can't take the title off. You can't. She's better than Tiffany. She's better than Io, Rhea, Bianca, whoever's the champion at that point. She's the best women's champion in the company. Her job right now is to get the main roster people to follow her next week, to watch her on NXT, and that way they can fall in love with Sol Ruka like we have. That's her job next week, and she will do that. Wrestling fans complaining, being like, yeah, we want a title change so bad. Shut up and enjoy the show.
I mean, listen, here's the thing. Chelsea has fought Mia Yim 4 times, and I have had no complaints with that because all those matches, all those title defenses have been consistently great because Chelsea's fantastic. Also, I love Mia and I will be biased. Like Miss Jade from the Dollhouse and TNA, you will always be that girl for me. So I can never hate you. Also, you are Mrs. Keith Lee. I'm afraid he's going to hurt me if I say anything bad. But anyways, which is crazy to me. Like on paper, I should be mad that this is the 4th time we've had this match, but I'm not because every single match it was fantastic. And you almost like run it back for number 5. Like, I want to see it again because they're so good. And I'm like, y'all, you are absolutely right. I feel like people are picking the wrong person. I'm just like, I was hoping because I have been very vocal during our WWE review how much I'm not really digging this IC title run with Lyra. Nothing against her, but we haven't done diddly squat with him anyways.
No, that has to go to Raquel this week. No question.
Listen, I wasn't sure about it, but honestly, I'm here for Raquel because I also feel like she gets shafted. She's gotten shafted so many times since coming up to main roster. But you know what? That's for the WWE show. Tune in Sundays. But I'm still excited for Sol versus Chelsea, and I think this is to get the main roster to be like, you go, Mrs. kind of Tyler Bates, you got this. Which is so we'll see what happens with all that. But
I can't wait till he comes back. I miss Tyler Bates.
I don't know if you're being for real or facetious, but I will take it.
No, I love him. He's a big, strong boy. I love him. I think he's amazing.
I'm also ready for Ilya to come back from injury. Like the timetable is close. I've missed Ilya on main roster too. It was unfortunate he got hurt.
So my God.
Listen, it won't.
Just,
I know. Listen, it won't happen. But when we're ready for this, and whenever they want to book it, Penta versus Ilya will slap. I'm just saying.
I agree. I agree. I think that would be amazing. But I need a Ilya versus Sheamus feud.
Yes.
I just want that to be like give me a best of 7 with those two.
Be like, do y'all know that wrestling is not this crazy? But I'm here for it because they will go ham. Speaking of kind of going ham, we do get into our main event. Of course, this really only went 10 minutes, but if the reports are to be true, we can't bang up Julia any more than she already is. But of course, Miss Julia is that Joshi Japanese wrestler where even if she has X, Y, and Z wrong with you, those girls will continue to wrestle. Also, that's the same thing for luchadors. Like, I did not know that Penta had a arm injury that is going on for like 3 years, did he say? During Sheamus's like workout series. I was like, sir, we have not got that fixed yet. I'm telling you, international wrestlers be crazy like that. But this is our main event. Julia and Stephanie in a title for title match. Julia, our NXT, well, at the time of going into this match, spoiler alert, our NXT Women's North American Champion. For the 10 minutes, and this is echoing what I said during our Revolution review, they probably deserved a little bit more time, but with the time they got, they brought it. I love this match. I like this match. I loved it. When Julia is fully healthy, I need these two to get one more round because I want them to go full balls to the wall. I was like, and I forgot that when commentary mentioned this, I'm like, oh yeah, they've only fought once on the international circuit against each other. And now we're getting a second. I repeat, this is only the second time that these two have faced off against each other, and it's on NXT television to see who would become a double champion. And I'm just going to let the pictures speak for itself. I love Julia, but there is something about seeing my Chilean mamacita over here holding these two titles. So I'm ready for the double reign for however long this is with Stephanie Vaquer. But also, shout out to NXT for doing the colors in the Chilean flag at the end of the show too, which was a really nice touch. I was like, when Julia's ready and fully healthy, I need one more match and go balls to the wall. But Macho, I'm going to come to you first. Julia versus Stephanie. What did you think?
I was going to say the same thing. When this match started, I text my buddy Tyler and I was like, 13 minutes for a title versus title? Because that match, they first touched each other at 9:47. I was hot. And the first thing, Tyler, he's really good at calming me down. He's, friends for like 17 years. And he texts me back and he's like, Julia's hurt. And he's like, come on, man. Julia's hurt. And I text him back and I said, if she's hurt, somebody needs to tell her because she's not working hurt. She's working like she's perfectly fine. I mean, the spinal tap into the triangle choke. How
was God, that was beautiful.
Listen, AJ Styles just went on a podcast where he said he can't do that anymore. And then she's doing it now. Like Stephanie's doing it, right? And I'm like, she does it and it lands. I honestly don't know what to say about these two women. I just think that it's really hard for me not to say this, but I think if we're just looking at the name that's on their paychecks, right? So we're not saying NXT, we're saying WWE Incorporated. These are the two best women in the entire company.
Oh,
I
100%.
stand on that. I know that they're considered rookies. I would say that these two women are better than every single person on the main roster, and both of you know how I feel about Rhea Ripley. They are exceptional talents. I want way more of them. I love that after how they showed the video in the back of Shawn Michaels greeting them both, and they're both crying and they're both excited about it and stuff. You could tell, and it was just like when Charlotte lost to Rhea at WrestleMania 39. You could tell Julia was like proud of her best friend. She was like, I couldn't have lost to a better person. Like you could just tell it was like the confetti's motivation for me. But I'm so proud that it was you. That if I had to do this, if I had to give up my championship this soon into my career here, I'm glad it was you. It was a love story. It was wonderful.
Will, I come to you next. What did you think of her main event?
My girl won. That's all that matters.
You want to feel the Diablo?
So it's just like, oh, okay. I love both of them. Which is I hate when I have to pick sides. But I was watching this, and this match literally made me sweat. This was actually my match of the night because it made me sweat. I was just like, oh, I couldn't there was at one point. Oh, it's one of the moments when Julia almost pinned Stephanie. I mean, it was like 1-2, and I was like, oh, I had to get up. I had to walk away. I don't even know who I was at that moment. And so then I was like, okay, I came back. I rewound it a little bit and I watched it again. And then I literally, it was like I was sweating bullets to the end of this match. And then when she's like, I was like, and then they flashed to Julia at one point, and I was like, oh, no, I feel bad for you. So I was like, what are you guys doing to me? Man, this was wrestling at its best.
It really was. And I have to give credit to NXT because normally there's usually one match. I was like, okay, this was kind of wasted. This was a very solid show. And I'm like, this is just a TV special. This is not even a pay-per-view, but this felt like a freaking pay-per-view. I was like, oh my gosh, Roadblock was just amazing. So Stephanie is now your double champ. She is NXT Women's and NXT Women's North American Champion. So I'm excited to see now that Roadblock is in the rear view, so to speak, with all puns intended. We are now, all roads now lead to Stand and Deliver, which was happening in a couple of weeks, which has me super excited. Also, just to get on my soapbox a little bit, women deserve more time. And we have seen it twice within 48 hours that the women know how to do shorter matches better, and they utilize with no wasted stuff. I mean, just from a regular match, this was fantastic, but also Tony and Mariah did the damn thing at Revolution 2. I'm mad that wasn't longer, but that's besides the point. Women just kill it better. So I need the wrestling companies to get it together because these women out here are just a different breed than the men. I also read some. Go for it. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I do think that they got minimal time because WWE is protecting Julia. True. They probably knew. I think everything you said when you opened talking about this match, how these international wrestlers, how they'll just put their body on the line. For them, It's like, it's like, it's like Henry Hill said in Goodfellas, you're sick, F you, where's my money? Right? That's how they feel. You know what I mean? Oh, I had a bad week last week. F you, where's my money? Right? That's how it is for them. It's like, oh, I got up this morning. Oh, I got to put on a banger match. Oh, I can walk. Oh, I got to put on a banger match. I got a stomachache. Oh, I got to put on a banger match. That's how international stars are. And I think that they were probably protecting her from themselves. When it comes to the other company, that's just something we've gotten for a long time. I don't think that there's going to be any change in that. They always cut the women short in that company. Here, I think it was just about protecting the future, which was Julia.
Right. And like I said, because I have experience of seeing Julia both in Stardom and when she was in Marigold before coming over here to NXT, yeah, those Joshi wrestlers do not play. They do not play. But that is going to be the end of Roadblock. Was such a fantastic show. I'm just like, I don't know how next week's show is going to go, but I am excited now. We are on the road to Stand and Deliver, which is going to be crazy. I'm super excited. So good. But that's going to be it for us here at NXT Losos for this week. Tune in next Wednesday for another fantastic recap where the most handsomest and sexiest trio of the NXT game is going to be back on your screen. But from myself, Macho, Will, and the rest of the BC Wrestle Pod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's going to happen next time? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.